Dear Sargon of Akkad, my name is the Soul of the West, and if I get a little bit emotional talking about this, I do apologize, but this topic is very close to home for me. First and foremost, I wanted to thank you for all of the hard work that you have been putting into your channel and how much of an impact it has had on me. I have decided, due to your work, along with some other people such as Stefan Molyneux and Blonde in the Belly of the Beast, to name but a few, that I will be creating my own YouTube channel and Minds account, and I will also be entering the fray, so to speak, and making my voice heard and put out there. In short, though, this has more to do with you specifically and what you've done, and I'm going to reiterate some information to you in the form of a story about my life and what the impact that you've had in my life because of what has occurred. Back in March of this year, 2017, in a 3-day time period, I had 3 things happen, one right after another. The first thing that happened is I had a friend of mine who died from cancer. The second one I had was a friend of mine commit suicide, and the next day I had the loss of the job that I really liked and was hoping to keep for a considerable amount of time. To put things quite frankly, this is more about the friend of mine who committed suicide than anything. He had been indoctrinated with the belief set of feminism, specifically the third wave form of feminism, in which you so incessantly attack, and rightfully so, for all of their nonsense and rhetoric and all of their garbage that they've done with it. At one point, he's been suffering from depression in a lot of ways, and for various other reasons besides just the feminist stuff. He's a white male. He's younger than I am, and I'm not gonna say my age exactly, but I am below the age of 30. And he went to work for this company, a job that he actually somewhat liked. He didn't love it, but he was very grateful for the job, and he ended up doing something that was very important to him. And I guess one day he came across this individual who is a self-proclaimed feminist, and she's someone who believed in the gender pay gap and thought that she was only making 77 cents to 78 cents or whatever she thought specifically for the number for it to the dollar, and decided that she was not going to do everything that she needed to do, and that she was simply just going to do 77%, 78% of the job because that's what she thought that she was getting paid for. And I guess somehow my friend found out that this is what she was doing, that she wasn't doing all of the reports, like she was only doing 4 out of 5 of them, or She would, let's say she had to be in a meeting for an hour, she'd only be there for, 47 minutes of it or whatever instead of the full hour, and stuff like that, because of her idea of fighting the patriarchy and all of that stuff that entails for it. And so he goes and takes this to HR to basically state that, this is what I've seen, this is what I've done with it. And I guess HR goes and does their investigation and finds out that what he said was 100% true. And, oh God, sorry. And in short, she, the female at the work ends up getting reprimanded. I don't know whether she got fired or not, but my friend was struggling with depression for 6 to 7 months before this, or at least that's when I was aware of it, and I'd been trying to tell him to go get professional help and to tell him to talk to people, and to told him that I was there for him whenever he needed to talk and whenever he needed to do something. And in short, what ended up happening is that while they were doing the investigation, she got suspended from work for a while. And this made it so that way she had all of this free time on her hands. My friend was already in a dark place, and there was only a handful of people who even knew that he was in such dire straits, emotionally speaking. And I'm not saying that this person is 100% to blame for his death, but it most certainly did not make it easier on him in any way, shape, or form. And I'm pretty sure that it is what pushed him over the edge with her actions that had occurred with it. She went and got all of her feminist friends, or went and got on some forums and something, and told them what had happened and how she needed help fighting the patriarchy, and that this guy was to blame for, my friend was to blame for the suspension of her and possible firing of her, pending upon what the investigation was for the outlook and things. And she found his Facebook site and his profile on Facebook, and she got all of these feminists to tell him all of this crazy, nasty stuff about him, how he's evil for doing this, how that he's just helping make society worse, that he should go and kill himself because of how fucked up and how much of a horrible human being that he is, and all of this other crap on it, that I personally think that this is what sent him over the edge to be 100% honest about it. Now you might be wondering, you might be wondering what this has to do with you and why I'm thanking you for all that you've done about this. I didn't know anything about third wave feminism and all of its nonsense that it's been doing, and just flat out horrible shit that it's done to certain people with it. And I found your YouTube series on it, of why people hate feminism, and I started reading that, watching that, and then reading some of the articles that you had posted up on it, and doing some of my own investigations into it. And I use these things to that I'd learned to help him before this happened. I was using it to help turn my friend around, to help get him to open up, to help to tell him that he's not just this evil person for being white, that he's not just this misogynist person automatically because of him being white, that he's not this privileged entity because he's being white, that he not that not everybody hates him because of his skin color and his white privilege and him being part of the patriarchy and all of this other stuff. And it helped him out to a certain extent. Now, I know he ended up taking his own life in the end, most likely because of this kind of stuff, but I know that he would have taken his life even sooner if it weren't for what I'd learned about it from you. And my arguments against it were mainly informed by your arguments against it. I mean, I did do some research on my own, but God, I'm sorry. So thank you. Thank you very much for what you've done.